With the release of Chapter 475 of Lookism, Go Kim's secret friend arsenal has finally been completed, with Taejin as the ultimate secret friend. Now with Go Kim having 3 secret friends, this poses the question, who would win in a 3v3, Go's secret friends or Gun's students? In order to find an answer, first we would have to divide this into 3 different fights, because to put it simply, Daniel alone solos all of Go's secret friends, so... As of Chapter 478, Gun's list of students includes Ollie, Eli Jang, and First Body Daniel. This led me to divide these fights into the following: Logan Lee vs Ollie, Samuel vs Eli, and Taejin vs Daniel. Logan Lee vs Ollie really isn't that close of a fight. Logan Lee is holding back his team here because when it comes to his feats, there's really not much to look at. Taking a look at his CV, Logan Lee was stated by Go Kim during the Hostel arc to have keen adaptation to one's fighting style, especially when his opponent is a weapon user, as showcased during his fight with Jae Hong, which by the way is going to be a crucial part in deciding the winner of this fight. There isn't much else about Logan other than his main martial arts is Jiu-Jitsu, and he's exponentially getting fat. I think the best way to decide this fight is to refer to the Hostel arc, because that was the last arc that we've ever seen Ollie actually existing in. Logan Lee at the time was quite relative to Jae Hong, and ever since the Hostel arc it was confirmed to us in chapter 460 that this guy really does not train. He eats a lot and he likes to refer to himself as an Ubermensch, which is a German word for one who does not need to train according to him. But referring to the real definition of this word makes it seem like this guy is just wrong, because Ubermensch translates directly to overman, which does not necessarily have a definition which relates to the context he was providing here. The closest we can get to the definition of Ubermensch is by either taking a look at the German definition, which is an ideal future human and an ultimate goal for humanity, or by taking a look at the informal synonym for the word overman, which is Superman, and it is a man with exceptional physical or mental ability. Neither of those contexts ever mention not needing to train, so it seems like he was just making an excuse. Now it would be kind of bold to say that Logan hasn't gotten any stronger than he was in the Hostel arc, because his height and weight have both greatly increased. However, by being relative to a Hostel arc Jae Hong, I don't think him getting fatter really makes that much of a difference. If we were to say him getting fatter puts him just a little bit above Hostel J, this would still not be enough because Ollie was seen fighting the likes of Eli Jang during Hostel and giving him a pretty hard time, until he eventually jumped off the build, so yeah, it's safe to say that it's 1-0 for Gun students. Now the second fight is where it gets interesting, Samuel vs Eli. Both of these characters have pretty immense feats, and unlike the last fight, we're most probably gonna have to take a look at both. So to get started, Samuel So is a character with an extreme inferiority complex. The reason behind this is that he wishes that Gap Young was his dad, but instead he's Jake Kim's dad, so this makes him feel inferior to Jake. However, this inferiority complex is not necessarily a drawback. It was stated by Jin Young that when he drugged Samuel and increased his inferiority further, this aided in him becoming a machine that only knows how to punch. This was shown to greatly increase his strength, speed, and durability, and was exemplified in the following panels in his fight with Jake Kim, as Jake was being quite literally no-diffed by Samuel, which is another big feat. Samuel's inferiority complex enabled him to uncover a whole new unique arsenal of attacks. He was able to pull out air conditioners, cords, and other miscellaneous objects of the sort out of what seemed like thin air considering he was in an empty room, and he was able to turn them into weapons which aided in his vicious beating of Jake even further. He's a character that was stated to peak in power when his body feels like burning up, which was described by him as a madness or insanity that was fueled by self-hatred. Our proof behind the fact that this insanity isn't only effective against Jake Kim is his past fight with the crew heads, in which he first unlocked this mad sensation and was able to take down Johan, Ollie, and Jake Kim, and this led to Go noticing him and making him one of his secret friends. Even though he still had a long way to go at the time, Samuel was stated by the first generation King Soktu to have entered and surpassed the stage of mastery. He was also stated to have the ultimate resilience, which is adaptability to difficult situations. This was exemplified when he was able to adapt to Soktu's headbutts, which is considered the main attack of a first-generation king, and he was even able to counter this attack by pulling Sokdu's boxer briefs out of his pants and covering his face with them, which not only nullified the hardness of his head pretty majorly, as he was able to headbutt Sokdu Wang with little difficulty now, but it also blocked his vision, which was killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Finally, during the 4th affiliate, Samuel had a fight with Daniel Park, and it was revealed to us that the reason Gunn won't approve of Samuel is because he was too vicious, and he described him as a ticking time bomb. In addition to that, it was shown that during his fights he also isn't afraid to resort to the usage of brass knuckles, meaning he literally does not care to kill his opponent, which is arguably close to animal instinct. In fact, he was meant to use brass knuckles in both of his hands, however that didn't work out because Daniel stole the other one. Now for Eli Jang. As a matter of fact, Eli Jang and Samuel are 2 very similar fighters, considering they both have a certain animalistic way of fighting. Eli Jang, when he was younger, was brought up by Tom Lee, who he used to refer to as Mr. Carpenter, and he is a character who lacked martial arts experience at the time and fully relied on the art of street fighting and mainly just fought to kill. His ferocity and his fighting style was compared to that of Go Kim by Gun himself during the point of the story where Gun took him in as his protege. Him being being brought up by Tom Lee seemed to have a major effect on his fighting style and viciousness throughout the series, as not only did he develop his animalistic instinct from being raised primarily on the streets, but it was also mentioned by the White Tiger Job Center that his fighting style is an exact mirroring of Tom Lee's. Similarly to Samuel So, he used his opponent's clothes or anything around them to his advantage to put them in an awkward position. This was exemplified in his fight with Sokdu, in which he was fighting the same exact way as Samuel So, and Sokdu himself stated that both of these characters had reached the state of mastery at the same time. By kidnapping his daughter for an entire month straight, Tom Lee decided to train Eli once again and make him even stronger. This was when his animal instinct was truly awakened and developed to a higher level than that of Samuel. During his training with Gun, Eli seemed to have learned his very first martial art, which is Aikido. This martial art, though very controversial in the real world, is actually extremely exaggerated in the world of Lookism, and he's able to take down multiple opponents in one attack thanks to it. He was also given stun batons, and some may believe that these stun batons act as a drawback to him due to the statement made by Gun when he gave them to him, basically saying he needs them because he is too strong, but more on that later. His endurance isn't necessarily a main facet of his fighting prowess, but it is still important to note because he was able to tank attacks from the likes of CQC Warren and the legendary Siinu Han. Now, as of recent arcs such as the Hunt for Big Deal, Eli's strength really seems to have sparked exponentially, as his reason to fight has become stronger than ever, which was to protect the hostel from any sort of harm. This led him to becoming the leader of the Workers' 5th Affiliate, and this reason to fight was exemplified in a multitude of fights, such as when he was rendered unconscious from the first strike during his fight with Hudson. However, he immediately came back when he remembered the hostel, and he proceeded to hang Hudson until he was unconscious. To add to that, Eli Jang beat Vasco with no difficulty, which is one of the Allied's strongest members, due to his reason to protect the hostel and carry it on his back. However, this no diffing seemed to have been reversed when Vasco entered his state of runner's high, and this was mainly because not only did Vasco get a huge strength and stamina buff, but Eli also lost his reason to fight, since Vasco had now vowed to protect the hostel with him. He gave up early on in the fight and was eventually overwhelmed until his defeat. The reason I'm inclined to believe that Eli defeats Samuel in this fight is due to the fact that his animalistic instinct, combined with his adaptability, are on levels that Samuel has not come close to reaching yet. What I mean by that is, even after being brutally manhandled by runner's high Vasco, he was able to fight against Basement Hulk, and Eli managed to survive this because he was able to use his terrain to his advantage, and he dodged all of Basement Hulk's attacks. And this led to him being pretty much the winner of this fight, or let's say the short exchange between the two. So I think Eli Jang wins this fight, but it's most probably going to end up in extreme difficulty. Now this makes it 2-0 for Gun students, which practically crowns them as the winner of this fight. And even if we were to take a look at the last fight, it's Taejin Cheon versus Daniel Park, and I don't think this fight really needs any discussion to it at all. And if you were to argue that Samuel beats Eli, then it would still be 2-1. So yeah, I rest my case. Gun students are just superior.